Welcome to View from the Gutters. Today on the show, we'll be talking about Infinity Gauntlet.
Welcome to View from the Gutters.
Hi, Joe.
Episode 53.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
This is awesome. I'm very happy to hear that.
I'm ready for Infinity Gauntlet.
I'm so excited right now that I'm literally going to explode.
Which is your favorite gem in the Infinity Gauntlet?
The calm gem.
Mine
the
is
gem of calm.
Mine is the soul gem.
Is it the soul gem?
It's the soul gem.
Mine would probably be reality gem.
I like the space gem because it sounds like Space Jam.
Damn it, Shard.
You're fired.
Welcome to View from the Gutters, the comic book podcast where each episode we discuss a collected edition, trade paperback, or graphic novel, and then recommend and vote on the book for the next episode. Warning: the discussion portion of this show has massive spoilers for that book.
On this episode, we discuss Infinity Gauntlet, and to skip ahead to the recommendation section, skip to 104.08.
Welcome
To
View
from
the
Gutters
episode
53.
3.
Yay! I'm Andrew Shard.
I am Joe Preddy.
I am disgusted. And also Tobiah Panchin.
I'm Cade Reynolds, and welcome to Sesame Street.
Yeah, we were doing good there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
9,
10,
10,
11, 12.
I thought that was like the electric company.
No, that was
I think
definitely
that-
Sesame Street.
Was it? I'm
Yeah.
gonna.
Or
No.
3, 2, 1 Contact.
No,
Wasn't
it was
that
definitely Sesame
Schoolhouse
Street.
Rock?
Definitely Sesame Street.
3, 2, 1 Contact. That was my jam.
I don't even know what that
3,
is.
2, 1 Contact
It was on PBS. It was incredible.
awesome. And also was Square One. Did
It
you
had
ever watch
MathNet.
Square One?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, and MathNet was like the best fucking thing ever.
I don't remember.
And I
either
didn't
of those.
get any of those jokes
That was
until I
before
were
your time,
older. I
Jared.
was older and watched Dragnet and realized that it was totally making fun of that.
Yeah, obviously.
But yes.
So, yeah, welcome to View from the Gutters. We're talking about the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
It's got us in a weird mood for some reason.
It has.
Well, I think it's a combination of it being an event crossover with the word infinite in it.
Yes.
It's bringing back the memories.
Yeah.
Although the gauntlet is not uncountably infinite.
So can I tell you what my favorite thing about this book is right off the bat?
Go
The
for it.
characters
Okay.
you don't recognize.
Not that. That is a good point. We were talking about all the characters I don't recognize because I thought I know stuff about Marvel.
Well, I
and
mean, this was
know.
legitimately 23
Yeah.
years ago.
I
There's
know.
been a lot of character turnover.
It was
Yeah,
back
exactly.
in a time when they thought Windshear would be a good name for a character.
I know a lot of Marvel characters, but some of these characters I just don't. I don't know them
Oh, that's
because they've
fair.
never been used. They've barely been used since this. So
Yeah.
I don't. Anyway, my favorite part is so we read Thanos. I read Thanos Quest this time before.
Yes, I also read
Yeah.
Thanos Quest, and to the listener out there who has not read the Infinity Gauntlet yet, if you can, start with Thanos Quest. It's 2 issues,
Yeah.
and it gives so much context for the beginning of this story,
Yeah.
which
It
just
really
kind of
does.
starts in the middle of things.
Yeah, exactly. It has a little recap of what Silver Surfer was doing at the beginning of the story, but it doesn't tell. This story starts and Thanos already has all the gems, and
Yeah.
that's weird. But
And the story of like how he gets them and what happens afterwards is so interesting
Yeah.
and compelling.
yeah, I liked Thanos Quest, but Thanos is a character. He's a Titan, and
Yes.
he has like brothers and a dad and family that they don't talk about that much anymore. But used to be a bigger deal when they would talk about the Titans more.
You still
'Cause
see
even-
Eros around.
You see Drax too, but they never mention that. Like,
well, Drax
and-
isn't an Eternal.
He's a Titan though.
No,
isn't
he's
he?
not.
No,
Oh,
he's
he's not a
not.
Titan.
He's...
No, so when Thanos first came to Earth in
Mm.
like I don't know, Fantastic Four or the Avengers or something like that,
Uh-huh.
there was a card that was just driving by and it saw his ship like landing on Earth and he's like, "Oh, I got to blow up that car so my cover isn't blown." And there were like 2 or 3 people in the car. One was a child who grew up to become Moondragon. Her father was also in the car and died and was resurrected by aliens and turned into Drax the Destroyer
Right.
specifically to kill Thanos.
Okay. All right. I always wondered where some of those characters came from. But Thanos as a character has been around before this book happened, and so he's always worn the orange gloves.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when they take the Infinity Gauntlet off of Thanos,
He's still wearing gauntlets.
He's still wearing the orange gloves,
no,
which
totally.
means that the Infinity... Yeah,
he's
definitely
got a
is.
purple hand.
No, in one of the art issues, the gauntlet's laying on the ground and he has 2 gloves on, which means that he was wearing a glove over another glove.
Okay, when they first take it off, he doesn't have the glove on.
It's when...
Yeah, because he's got a purple hand. Because I
yeah.
remember having that toy growing up that had one gauntlet and the other was just a purple hand.
It's when he loses it and what's her name?
Nebula
takes it off of his body that's just sitting there because he's now eternal or
Which
whatever.
is hilarious because they talk about like the first time that he became a god, it was because he found the cosmic cube.
Yeah.
And he like ascended to godhood, but he just kind of like discarded the cube.
Oh, this
And it's literally the exact same mistake that he made the last time.
Well,
It's like, he left his body behind.
Well, Adam Warlock is talking about him like that he like subconsciously wants to fail.
Well, yeah, I thought in the Cosmic Cube he just gets to the point where he's like, "Oh, Death will never love me. I'm done. I give up."
I haven't actually read that story. I've
Pretty
been sitting down
That's
this
the
week
exact
and I've been
voice he
going
uses,
through
too.
Yeah, no, it is.
all of the Adam Warlock chronology, so I've read a bunch of that stuff,
Yeah.
but not all of it.
No, and Thanos. This is what I really like about this is that Thanos doesn't just get all like, "Nyeh," and start crying about how death, because I'm almost, and I could be wrong about this, but I'm almost positive that,
It's here where he's got both gloves
he
on and he's
does.
reaching for the gauntlet, which is on the ground.
But that's after reality has been messed with a couple of times.
I just
So
want...
I'm pretty, and that's like right at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the last
Yeah, so
issue.
that's after
This is right before Adam gets it.
that's after Nebula has restored things to how they were 24 hours
12
ago.
hours ago. Which,
no, 24.
24 hours ago,
Okay.
which means 24 hours ago, Thanos had 2 gloves.
but one of them was the Infinity Gauntlet. Because his glove just becomes the Infinity Gauntlet.
I guess as his
Somehow.
granddaughter,
Well,
she was like subconsciously afraid that his hand would be cold.
Well,
And so she gave him 2 gloves.
Because in modern continuity, they make the gauntlet into, like, much more of a thing. Like, it was a thing that was crafted, but...
It's really
in
just
this,
his
it's
glove.
just his glove that
No,
he
it
was
is,
like already
yeah.
wearing, and just sewed some gems into weirdly, and was like,
He
I
didn't
have
have to
all
get
of
the
them.
reality gem. He was just like, I want this glove. I'm going to have the gems fit into this glove.
if I get 6 gems, I'm like, I'm going to bling out one glove because Michael Jackson is so fucking cool.
Well,
No, dude,
why
no,
wouldn't you
no,
split it
like,
up between 2
I
hands?
would totally go for the grill. Like,
Well, why
you guys are
wouldn't you
not
make a
seeing the
crown
opportunity
out of
there.
it?
That makes sense too, or a belt,
Oh,
Or
man.
necklace.
or a
Or a
necklace.
Yeah.
I would get
basically
one of
anything
those-
but
Like,
a
there's so
gauntlet.
many ways that you could go, and he's like, no, got to be one glove.
I get
Because you could
get-
put you could put it on a necklace and then wear like 3 fucking shirts so nobody can take it off of you.
Or you could wear you could wear 6 different necklaces, each one with a gem on it.
So I
Dude,
want to
I
say,
would wear a grill. I would totally wear, and I'd
I
just
think they're
smile,
kind-
and the gems would be up in there, and I'd be like, "Yeah, what's up?"
I
yeah.
would actually, I would take the direction that Pip takes it when he gets an Infinity Gem later. He totally hides it in a very uncomfortable place.
Why would you choose to
I
hide
thought
it
he
there?
put it in
What,
his
did he
belly
have
button.
the reality gem?
No,
or?
he had the space gem.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
which
he's like-
allows you to teleport anywhere in space. So if someone's trying to take it from you, you're just gone.
It's
I don't know.
okay, so I wanted to say we
Go
were
ahead,
just
Kate.
talking about Thanos and like taking off his glove, you see the purple skin,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to say how weirded out I was with Taraxia.
Yeah,
Girl,
Taraxia.
Yeah.
Taraxia, is that she never is wearing the same suit. Because sometimes, like, the purple of her face, like, the blue will start at her neck, and sometimes the purple will be all the way to her cleavage. And it's just weird. Each time you see it,
Well, that could
the
be
cut of her
coloring. I mean,
costume is different.
That's weird.
coloring at this
Weirder.
time
Yeah.
was not as exact as it is now. I mean,
Well, obviously.
people were still kind of.
Yeah, it's just weird because like sometimes
Yeah.
you see her and you're like, she's purple, and then it's like, wait, nope, she's blue.
So that could have
I-
been artist direction or
Creepier than that, though, is that he just created a woman out of thin air that
I know.
looks basically
This is-
exactly like
What
him.
I love about that is
That's
like
weird.
He's like death. I've made myself your equal. Blah blah blah. I want to be your man. Blah blah blah. And he's like, fine. And then he's like, I'll just create this woman. And look at how much she takes me. And I'm like, are you seriously trying to make like one of the primal forces of the universe jealous?
Yeah.
Because that's what he's trying to do. Like,
Well,
even the fucking look on his face is like...
there is so much awesome stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
In this book, and I want to dial it back to the beginning. For a
Yeah, go
second.
back.
Because I mean, Jim Starlin, like from even early in his writing career, was like very, very interested in psychology and psychosis and kind of like the characters' reasonings behind the way that they do things. And one of the big things with Thanos has always been that he is his own worst enemy. Like, he fucks himself up. There have been innumerable times where he could have ruled or destroyed the universe, and he just fucks it up because he's an idiot. And I love the way that this story starts out with him being already omnipotent. Like, page 1, he is all-powerful. There's nothing that anyone could do possibly to stop him. And it starts with a literal devil there on his shoulder, like, guiding his actions, just talking to him, suggesting things to him, and he's kind of going along with them. And if you really think about it, like, as a reader, you can go, okay, what the fuck is this guy's problem? Like, he's listening to everything that Mephisto is telling him. How stupid is he?
Yeah.
Like, you can see the seeds of his own destruction from the very first page.
Well, yeah, he's talking to Death, and she's just ignoring him. And she's talking to him through her, like, heralds or whatever. Because she has one, and she has two of them at the beginning of Thanos' Quest. And at the end of Thanos' Quest, he explodes the rat guy.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
It really is.
And then at the beginning of Infinity Gauntlet, he does the same thing to the other guy. Because she won't talk to him. She won't say anything to him. And so he blows that guy up and then is like trying to talk to her, and then Mephisto's like, oh, now that she doesn't have a herald, I'll just kind of like imply what she's thinking all the time. And she's like, yeah, you shouldn't just wipe these heroes out of reality. You should have like a big old fight with them. I think that she'll be really into that, dude.
Yeah, like
dude, she'll really like that.
Mephisto is working the angles.
Yeah.
Oh no, well that's
You know, do a handbrake turn. Dude, she'll love that. She'll think that's cool.
Girls love the handbrake turns. We
Mephiston
know
is basically just, you know, he's trying to get Thanos off balance in a lot of ways, so that I think that he's even obviously after the gauntlet, because there's that panel where it's showing like everyone reaching for the gauntlet.
Yeah, I mean,
Mephisto's
he's right there.
Yeah, he's ready to grab it.
And I think that kind of brings me to this. What I really like about this is that I feel that a lot of times you have situations like this where it's like you've made one character ultimately powerful, and then you run into this idea of, well, how are we going to stop him? And you have some crazy, stupid Deus Ex Machina that makes no sense, and it totally like sours the whole experience because you're thinking about it, and it's never satisfying. Like,
well,
this
it comes
is one
from
of my
outside
biggest...
of the characters. You know? Like, this story is satisfying in his failure to me because the failure comes from within Thanos. Like, you can see it. The seeds of the failure have been planted, like Toby said, from the beginning. So you're like watching the failure happen.
But the thing is that it's not for me. It's not just that. It's that Starlin is. It's clear to me that he starts with that idea. He already, before he even writes this, he knows not just that Thanos is going to fail, but how he's going to fail, and that makes the rest of it. That's what makes the scenes with him and Mephisto so compelling, is because it never feels like he's just throwing something together at the last minute to justify Thanos' defeat, because Thanos can be a problematic character, because it's like, you know, you have to give him this kind of you have to give him that kind of psychological, like, self-defeatism, because
well, anyone else with the Infinity Gauntlet would be
that's it.
Like,
it's game
too
over.
powerful.
You know,
like, it's the end.
And the scene at which he realizes, I mean, at one point Warlock takes him aside and is like, "You're doing this to yourself." And
after he loses the gauntlet to Nebula, he like teams up with the heroes to go back and get it back. Which is this book, I really like it, but like as I said when I pitched it, like I cannot tell you why I really like it. It's just like a series of events that I like to enjoy watching.
Okay, first of all, this is filled with great moments, like the fact that Doctor Doom is on their team.
Yeah,
and like they get the gauntlet away from Thanos, and then Thanos is like, well, I don't want anyone else to have this power, so now I'm on your team.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, that sounds fine.
whatever.
Also,
but I was thinking about this because as I was reading it, I was comparing it in my mind over and over again to Infinite Crisis, which I hated. Yet this is similar to it in so many different
yeah,
ways.
absolutely.
Like the collection of all of these heroes, and like the epic universe is being just like half the population disappears, and that's the opening salvo, and Earth gets cast into space, and there's earthquakes, and the world is destroyed, and like there's all this crazy stuff happening. And I hated Infinite Crisis, and I loved this, and I was trying to figure out why.
Because this isn't trampy like Infinite.
It's not. Well, it's not overdone, and it has all of those really great character moments, and you really feel like you understand the characters' motivations,
Well,
why they're
it's-
doing
yeah.
specifically the things
yeah.
that they're doing
Well, it's happening
throughout the entire thing.
in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there weren't 32 in
Well,
Infinity.
I actually looked it up. There were a crap ton of Infinity Gauntlet tie-ins,
But they're-
but
were
you don't
47
have to
issues
read
in all.
any of them to understand what's going on
Exactly.
in
Well,
the
and
main
it was
book.
the little
and
things
they're
that
usually like, what are these characters doing while this
Right.
is going on? Like
Yeah.
they're not about these characters so much.
Yeah, it's
there's,
like Infinity Gauntlet Spider-Man, where he's like swinging around in New York and he's like saving people from the city being destroyed or whatever.
Yeah, it's different stuff. And
the thing that does it for me is the little touches. Like when Adam Warlock and Silver Surfer are hanging back, and
By the way, I think that Adam Warlock and Silver Surfer should be the best bros.
you know, like Perfect Strangers.
I would love
Like
to
Adam
read more
Warlock
books
comes
with
to
them.
live with Silver Surfer. And
I
they
also
get into a
like-
bunch of like wacky hijinks.
I think one of my favorite scenes was actually the Hulk and Wolverine on top of the rooftop.
And that was a great
that
moment.
was a good
I
scene.
pretend that Hulk's not in this book because I hate the smart Hulk.
Well, I mean that's fair.
I was actually
think that's
confused because I thought that this was when there was Banner Hulk. And it doesn't seem like it's
No.
Banner Hulk, it's
fair. No,
Smart
it's
Hulk.
Smart Hulk.
Yeah, this is Peter David's he's reformed and he's like
Smart Hulk or Banner Hulk wasn't until after this, and then he started working for that weird thing on the mountain, like with Achilles and something. I don't
You're
know.
talking over my head. I did
Yeah,
not
I
read
can't
90s
remember.
Hulk like at all.
well,
Yeah,
because
it
it's
was-
weird.
It
It's
is very
it's
strange.
Some of my least Hulk stories, my least favorite Hulk stories ever.
See,
come
I
out of
dig
this
all
era.
the Hulks as long as they're well written.
Yeah,
so
it
I don't
just-
mind if
I mean,
it's
it's
Smart
the
Hulk.
It
Hulk
just
is
feels
definitely
weird.
a character where your mileage will vary depending on what you like about the Hulk. But
Big
there's-
grin and punches people.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
when he's doing a lot less of that, he can be a little bit kind of.
Well,
eh.
I think that one thing that's so interesting about the Hulk is that it's two people,
No, it's fair.
and whenever it's like Smart Hulk or Banner Hulk, it's one person.
How did you feel about Planet Hulk?
I love Planet Hulk because there are two characters. There's a couple panels where Banner's there.
Yeah, he's only there very briefly.
Yeah, and Hulk is Hulk the whole time. And that's like, those are two different characters. You can tell a story that's completely Hulk, and you can tell a story that's completely Banner because they're two characters.
Yeah.
I love one of my favorite issues ever is the Planet Hulk What If, where they actually land Hulk on the planet they sent him out to. Like, they don't miss like they do in Planet Hulk, and he ends up on the Gladiator planet. Like, in this one, they get him to that planet with no sentient life on it, and he can just live there. And it's like Banner during the daytime and Hulk during other days, and they divide the planet up between the two of them, and, like, Hulk draws a big line in the sand, and it's like, Banner, don't cross. And, like, Banner will wake up and, like, find out that his house is smashed because Hulk, smashed. So they're, like, the two separate characters, and you're only seeing one side of the story in each of those. I think that stuff's really
That actually
cool.
that does sound really cool.
It's just one issue. It's really fun, and the Hulk is an interesting character because there's no other character like him. There's lots of characters that are big, strong, and punch things. Like there's tons of characters like that. But what sets Hulk apart is that inside of the giant like rage monster is like a brilliant scientist, and they have to occupy the same space somehow.
Well, and
It's not like Firestorm; they never talk to each other
Yeah,
either.
no, totally.
Like they just one just goes to sleep and then wakes up later and is like, "Oh, I guess I was the Hulk." Like I think that leads to a lot of interesting stories, and Peter David tended to not tell stories like that.
Well, I mean, I think it was an interesting idea. I'm definitely a fan of. I think a lot of people want to write Hulk off as kind of like, oh, he gets angry and he's a big, dumb, stupid guy, but I don't think that does him justice. I definitely think Hulk is cunning.
Well, yeah,
And I mean, that intelligence is still there. It's just not like...
he's got
well,
that
the Hulk,
Conan.
the Hulk
cunning.
has been relatively smart at various times. Not
Yeah,
like super
absolutely.
smart, but like uses complete sentences.
Well, he's
Yeah,
not
no.
as dumb as Drax. Like you see Drax in this.
Oh, Drax has brain damage.
right?
Yeah, and that's
And
what it's one of the
some
weird
people
things.
write Hulk like that. like he's Bizarro or Drax. And it's like, he's not that character. He's just not.
Big and angry.
For anyone who hasn't read
maybe-
anything this old, by the way, the original Drax is smart. This is his second incarnation where he has brain damage and he's dumb.
Right.
Then around Annihilation Wave, he actually
It's
dies
actually
and comes
in
back again, and
Annihilation
that's
Wave.
when he goes like all Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
And that's probably the Drax that you're familiar with,
That's the Drax.
It's
That,
who is
Awesome.
also smart,
that is the Drax the Destroyer miniseries, Drax 1 through 4. that's
which is a great series,
in the very first trade of Annihilation.
and is actually the origin of Cammy, who's shown up in Avengers Arena.
Yeah.
If you're confused about that character
Yeah.
and happen to be reading that series.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, so there's this.
But
I did like the rooftop Hulk Wolverine moment, but there's a moment for me, and this is one of the things because I understand what you're saying about the difference between this and Infinite Crisis. But there's a moment when Adam Warlock and the Surfer are hanging back, and Surfer wants to get in there, and Warlock's like, "No, you don't understand. They don't have a shot in hell. Like this is their chances are less than zero. This is just a big distraction so that we can set up our real plan." And I love that moment because it kind of it would be very easy to stage that as this big dramatic slow motion people dying, and it doesn't. It just becomes this very matter of fact thing. And so I never feel like I'm kind of being like pushed into kind of being like, hey, look at that. That was pretty glorious, right? Look at Wolverine just went down in a bit. Oh, look at that. It's pretty
That's one of the things I love about Adam Warlock as a character is that he has this kind of schizophrenic quality to him where nobody really trusts Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
They don't know a lot about him. They don't know what his motivations are. Like he's not necessarily a hero relative to the other heroes. And so when he steps in, like everybody else is immediately like not on solid ground.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out like what's the angle, what's going on, what's happening. And obviously like he's trying to save the day, but I mean you find out at the end of this series like his entire goal 100% of the time from start to finish was him getting a hold of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Because he's the only person that he trusts to have it.
Right.
And he was completely willing to sacrifice everybody else to complete his objective.
Yeah.
Like there was
Which
never
is-
a moment in his mind where it was like, I can't send Captain America against Thanos because Thanos is going to kick the shit out of him and he's going to die. He's like, no, all these guys are expendable. They will
Yeah.
all die.
Yeah.
well, yeah, it's the line is the true purpose of their attack is merely diversionary. They are sacrificial lambs. And then it's the big, like, splash page, and it says, and may the stars forgive me. This is exactly as I planned.
Yeah.
And then it's like, next, galactic conflict galaxy fight. And it doesn't say that part. But
Galactic Galaxy
it says-
conflict,
it
fighting
says
of the cosmos.
conflict on the far side of the galaxy. Well, I like my version
I
better.
love how bombastic Jim Starlin is.
Oh no,
Oh, yeah.
totally.
But going back to what we were talking about in terms of Infinite Crisis, the conclusion that I came to after we finished talking about it was you have spectacle moments and you have character moments. And the character moments are what earn you those spectacle moments.
Mhm.
And this series, unlike Infinite Crisis, earns its spectacle moments by having those really great character moments.
Oh,
where
absolutely.
Captain America is standing up to Thanos. Like,
That's
I'm
a
a human
great-
man standing up to the personification of infinite power in the universe. Thanos is more powerful than eternity himself. And here I am, Captain America. I'm standing up to him. Like, those
And
are the
I love
moments
what he
that
fucking
earn
says.
the big bombastic
Yeah.
spectacle moments in this series.
Absolutely. And I love what he says when he stands up and goes, as long as one person stands against you, then you have failed. And it's such a Captain America thing to say. It's
It
such
really
like
is.
it's just like this really great moment. And that's it exactly, is that
Yeah, as
Starlin
long-
thought
as long
about
as one
this.
man stands against you, Thanos, you'll never be able to claim victory.
yeah, that's what he says.
good.
And then, like the
But-
whole thing is that it's thought out. It's
That's-
never Starlin's purpose in telling this story is to tell this story, not to make a bunch of big splash pages, not to kill off a bunch of characters, not to do anything but to tell the story. And he has a good grasp on it before he even goes into it, which makes all the difference.
I mean, that issue 4 is my favorite issue because it's basically like all of the Marvel superheroes coming together and then just getting their asses handed to them.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I love how Nova is in this series. And I mean, he becomes a big character 20 years later. But in this, like, literally, he like you see him in the background, like when they're gathering everybody, and then he comes in and does one attack and dies immediately.
Yeah.
Like he's taken out like a punk.
Well, everybody does.
It's hilarious to me.
How does I can't remember
It's
how
like
Nova goes out.
it's like seeing your favorite actor before they were famous when they were just doing like commercials.
Yeah, like Samuel L. Jackson in Coming to America.
Exactly.
We just watched that the other night.
It's like, oh look, it's Nova, one of my favorite characters. He's so awesome. Oh my god, he just got taken out because he's like a C-lister at this point.
Yeah, I was trying to find where Nova gets.
It's
punked, but- oh yeah,
it's like 3/4 of
Oh,
the
he
way
just
to
gets
issue
turned
4.
into-
No, he gets turned into blocks in the most ridiculous. Okay, so as much as I love this series, like it is also goofy as fuck. Like there's some really weird shit in here.
Oh god, and
this is
right
the
after
best
that,
line.
Quasar gets his hands blown off.
Oh, which is
and
my
he's
favorite.
Like, oh, not again!
That's my favorite moment in the whole book. But this is the best. He Nova comes in and punches Thanos in the face as he's like flying through, and he's like, "Back off, prune face! No one's busting up Thor while Nova's around." And then Thanos says, "Not round, square, square as in cubes." Like a child's toy blocks, and then he turns into blocks.
But
and then Thanos like crushes the blocks, and
the
then
panel
busts
in
there.
between is just where he's saying not round, square.
It's just his
It's
eyes.
just his eyes.
It's ridiculous. Like it
I
is
think
so
that's
goofy.
awesome. And then he
If I had
smashes
infinite
Thor.
power, I would not be that creative.
It's so goofy.
Oh
It's
my
like
God, I
not
would
only
do
he does
awful
it, but
things.
Nebula does as well. Like they find some creative ways to dismantle the people coming after them.
If I had that much power, I would like
Well, he,
make
like,
people's
depowers-
heads into asses.
He like depowers himself to show off for death right
Yeah.
before this fight.
That's one of Mephisto's
but he's
like
still
best
being creative
plans.
with the
yeah.
way that
Oh
he's...
yeah.
But
I love
like
it when
again,
he's-
there's so many tiny little moments. Like right after what we were just talking about, the Silver Surfer like does his mad dash to grab the Infinity Gauntlet, and he misses, and Thanos is like looking at the Surfer, and Captain America punches him as hard as he can, and
Yeah.
Thanos does not even notice, and
just
just
slaps
backhand
him.
like slaps him away, like you are beneath my notice. Like
well-
there's just so many tiny little throwaway things like that that just work so well within
Yeah.
the context of the story.
I love
this
them.
is-
I think they're
This
awesome.
is a good comic.
Yeah, like I can't help but compare this to Cosmic Odyssey, which came out 3 years earlier.
yeah.
Like,
Which
not
I-
that far of a separation.
Cosmic
Also
Odyssey
by
was
Jim
a lot more
Starlin.
serious, though.
I like it a lot more.
I like this a lot more.
Yeah.
I
I
like
like
them
I
both
like
on
the
their
Infinity
merits.
Gauntlet a lot more than I like Cosmic Odyssey, and part of that I think is just that I like Marvel comics better in general.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I feel like Cosmic Odyssey, as much as it had those cool moments, like it didn't have as many cool, just little character things.
Man,
Like there was some big stuff. I mean, Jon Stewart and the destruction of Xanshi and all that stuff.
I just like all of like
But there's just so many tiny little details in this.
Batman hanging out with what's that guy?
So Forager.
Forager.
Yeah, Forager.
I love all that little stuff. I thought that book is great, and I also like that it is a bit more serious. It feels more DC-like, and at the end of it, I feel like stuff happened. And at the end of this book, everything gets reset by 24 hours, and then Adam Warlock has the gauntlet.
Basically.
And other than that, nothing's changed.
Well, and
I
doesn't
was like,
I mean,
it's
and
Just,
I
you know, I
don't
mean,
think
it's okay.
I mean,
really
that's fine.
even a spoiler, but like right after this, they start the Infinity Gauntlet. And
No, that's
Infinity Watch.
yeah, Infinity,
Infinity Watch, right?
Yeah.
And so he gets it in this, and then the next thing you see him in is Infinity Watch, where he's losing it.
Yeah,
Where
Yeah.
the living, and it's great because you see the Living Tribunal is in this for 5 seconds,
I
so
love
you
him.
don't really get to see it. But
yeah. I love how
The
Living Tribunals
opening-
was like,
I'm
I got
not
no
gonna
problem
do
with
it.
this.
I don't want to deal with
and
this.
it's because the reason that's a big deal for you, those of you who are not familiar with Marvel Cosmic, is the Living Tribunal is power on a level that is inconceivable. Like Adam Warlock is standing before this whole like thing, and love and hate are there, and chaos and order, and he's
Yeah, and there's
pleading
a
his
couple
case to
Celestials
keep
and-
the gems to the Living Tribunal, and he basically just has this huge like tantrum, and it's great because it's one of my most enduring memories of Marvel Comics, where he's like, "I will not tolerate this effrontery." Then he just makes everything go away, and the Living Tribunal's like just brings everything back, and it's like, "Yeah, whatever. That was a nice tantrum, but I'm still gonna take those away from you." And basically makes him form the Infinity Watch. So I think that's hilarious because the Living Tribunal shows up for 5 seconds. It's like, not my problem. Eternity's like, Thanos wants to destroy everything, and the Tribunal's like, no, he doesn't want to destroy everything. He wants to replace it with himself. And the Living Tribunal's totally okay with that. He's totally okay with Thanos being the new Eternity.
Well, that's what's been so great about the Marvel Cosmic realm is that it's kind of largely amoral.
Yeah.
Like, two of the big boys are order and chaos,
Yeah.
which are not good and evil.
No.
Like, the highest authority is the Living Tribunal.
And
And
Eternity.
he's powerful on
Well,
like a
even Eternity
multiversal-
is beholden to the Living
Living
Tribunal. Because the
Tribunal.
whole thing
See-
with that Infinity Watch scene is that Eternity has taken Adam Warlock to the Living Tribunal and is
Yeah.
like, the Infinity Gems are are basically like the sum total of all that is, which is what I am the personification of. They should be mine. And Adam Warlock is like, no, fuck you.
Yeah, the Living Tribunal is pretty much so the Infinity Gems are universal power, like power on a universal level. They can control the reality of this universe. The Living Tribunal is multiversal power.
Yeah.
He's even beyond the Infinity. There's only one being, I think, above the Living Tribunal, which is
The one above all.
the one above all, who looks suspiciously like Jack Kirby. And you have to ask yourself, why it doesn't look like Stan Lee?
I do like that Stan Lee presents at the beginning of
Yeah,
this, and I'm like, what? Why? Because
because
all
all-
Marvel books said
All
that.
Marvel comics said that.
Yeah.
Yep. But I like that everybody gets their shots in. I like that.
Yeah, like, it's actually a remarkably good fight considering how lopsided it is.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
is.
Well, I mean,
Like,
they don't
I mean,
really
kinda-
do anything.
Well,
yeah,
it's
I mean,
because-
everybody kind of gets to show off a little bit.
Sort
it's
of. They all
because
get the
the-
shit kicked
yeah,
out of them. Like,
they
Thanos
do.
is a
Thor's like,
sadist,
oh,
so-
let me just chuck this hammer at you. Oh, it's in another dimension now. Bye.
But like, how
And-
often does a hero really get a chance to just go 100% all out?
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, that's what I like, but they also don't do anything to Thanos. Like, and I also love that this is in an era before Wolverine was hot shit. So,
Back when he was wearing his proper costume.
yeah, and he's like, oh, it's the caption box is, he's one of the X-Men, goes by the name of Wolverine. Of all the combatants, he would have been the last I thought of capable of delivering the death blow. And if it was written now, Wolverine would have won. He just would have been like, I'm the best there is, and then like
I'm gonna
cut the
say
Infinity
something-
Gauntlet off his hand,
no,
and then like
Wolverine doesn't
mine.
win. That's just not. That's
no, I
not
know.
What happens.
But modern writers like to write Wolverine like he's the greatest
Yeah.
end all thing, and I love how Cyclops goes out in this. He just puts the like
That's
box
pretty-
around his
oh,
head, and
yeah.
he suffocates
I have to say
death.
that regarding current events, I thought it was pretty funny when Wanda Maximoff goes.
Oh yeah, because she still only has hex magic at this point, so she's
Yeah.
not very powerful.
No wild magics for her.
Okay, 4 other things that I have to point out, just very quickly. When he is all powerful, Thanos is like, what can I do to impress my girlfriend? I don't know. I'll spell my name with planets.
Yeah,
Like, he's
He's
that
not super
kind of
bright.
guy.
Totally stole that from Futurama. Wait.
he's not that bright.
Later in that same issue, Pip the Troll is watching Alf on
Yeah.
TV, which I think is A, great, but B, that's because there was an Alf Marvel comic
Yeah.
at that time, which was, I think, semi in continuity a little bit,
Oh yeah, it was.
which
yeah.
is ridiculous.
I
This is going back to Thanos Quest, but in that series, he makes himself a Metron chair and rides around in it,
Yeah.
which
I
I
was
thought
going to
was
point that out.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Metron
Because
chair.
Starlin actually talks about the original conception of Thanos, and when he first conceived of him, he was like super duper skinny. And he's like, if he like people have been like, oh, it's a ripoff of Darkseid. He's like, if it was a ripoff of anybody, it was Metron to begin with.
yeah.
And then somebody, I forget who he was talking to, but an editor at Marvel was like, if you're gonna rip off a new god, rip off the best new god. And so they made him like super duper beefy. And that's how Thanos like got his appearance. And I think it's cool that they kind of like Starlin kind of does a callback to that with the Metron chair that
No,
Thanos makes for himself.
absolutely.
I just think that's great.
Well, I like that. That's how he's traveling around, and I love in that series. Who's the guy that he fights on the planet that he makes blow the planet up? Is it like
Champion.
Champion.
Yes.
I love that fight so much.
God, everything is good about that.
I
Like 2 episodes,
I
and like
do have to
all the
say-
different fights that he has with
Yeah.
the Elders of the Universe.
I have to say one thing. I really enjoyed that until he got to Grandmaster and did the whole, you're playing a robot. It's
No,
like-
the best part about that whole scene, and this is like why I love absurdist comedy, because it just makes me laugh at like normal stuff. But they sit down at like a fucking chess table.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What? This will be a battle,
going to play a video game."
battle of wits." And they sit down, and you're like, "Oh, they're gonna play some
Yeah.
chess." No, they're like in fucking Johnny Quest virtual world,
no.
battling with robot
That
bodies,
was-
and it's like, what
I
is
have to
this?
say that I really enjoyed Thanos Quest.
The most
I really
ridiculous shit.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's one of those moments where you step back and you're like, all right, Jim Starlin, I've read other things you've written. I know you have better ideas than this. Why not a chess game or something?
Well-
How did you get from that
scene
we're
where they're
going
like,
to play a
they
game?
literally
the
are like
the-
right about to sit down
The
at a chessboard.
ultimate game of chess and of strategy and cunning, and it's a video game.
It's like a
pretty
it's
much
like Battlesuit laser
it's
tag
pretty
is what
much
they
like
play.
yeah. And then Thanos does all like, you are playing a robot. It's just like, where the fuck did you get the robot, Thanos? Where did you get it? You didn't have access to the reality jet. Did you just have
He
a
had
fucking
some.
Yes,
perfect-
of course he has robots of himself. He's
Yeah.
Thanos.
No, he's not Nick Fury though. Like, no,
He's
I'm
not
sorry.
Dr. Doom.
Like,
Actually,
that
they
should have
talk
been,
about him at one point. I don't know if it was in this or something else, but they like talk about like, oh, he's basically like Doctor Doom on a cosmic scale. He like does all the same things, and he's just way better. And he is a way better Doctor Doom than
No,
Doctor
it's
Doom
true.
ever was.
I will
I
give
do.
you that.
I love Dr. Doom in this though,
Oh, I know.
and I love the bro team up hangout. You guys were talking about the Adam Warlock Silver Surfer, but I love the bro hangout of Dr. Stephen Strange and the Silver Surfer, and I want the Silver Surfer to be like, "Yeah, I'm real injured, man. I just need to like crash out here for a couple days."
The
And
odd
Dr. Strange
couple.
has to like hang out with the Silver Surfer. while
They were
he's,
in
like,
the
hanging out on
Defenders
the-
together.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
just-
we're in a team for 5 minutes, and you think
Yeah.
we're best friends now.
yeah, I love that.
But it would be great because, like, Surfer would be, like, drinking beer and, like, drinking milk out of the carton, and Stephen Strange would be like, that's not really kosher.
I think
I
that
have,
that's actually probably the
gothic
other way
shit
around.
to do.
By the hoary hosts of Hogarth.
I mean, you have to keep in mind that
How
Stephen
dare
Strange,
you put your lips on mine milk?
Stephen Strange has a manservant.
That's
Because he is
true.
a messy
Yeah.
man. Like,
Well,
he never
he's-
learned to take care of himself.
He's got the fabric of reality to deal with right now. He can't be like putting the milk back in the fridge. It's too hard.
Yeah, right?
I really like the setup with Nebula, too.
I had a fourth point back there, but I totally forgot what it was.
I mean, we get it. You like it.
Yeah.
That's...
Well, I mean, there's...
I was looking for that cool scene.
What
with
if that was our
Dustin.
podcast? How did we all feel about it?
I liked it.
It was good.
Joe, stop getting right up next to your microphone. It's annoying.
No, I'm
I
going
liked
to
it too, man.
I'm going to speak from here from now on in
Well,
this tone of voice.
I guess this kind of goes without saying, but I really like the art.
I
mean,
actually
George
There-
Perez.
the-
Wanted to talk about the art a little
It's
bit.
George Perez and Ron
there,
Lim.
I just remember
Because-
there was a moment that I didn't really feel captured what it was trying to, and that was when Masterson gets the hammer back and becomes Thor again.
Well,
It
he was
took a whole-
always kind of a shitty Thor.
Yeah, it took a whole page like to do the like, oh, he's getting his hammer back, he becomes Thor again, and it's just like, wait, that moment isn't really working. I'm not sure why.
I also
but-
love that they put the fucking spell on him so they can breathe in outer space,
But
and then
not-
he like turns back into whatever Masterson, and he's like, I can't breathe in space now because the spell loopholes and
definitely-
spell logic.
There are a few nitpicky things
no,
I have with
it's
that.
not, and,
That-
and those don't take me out of the story at all. Like
No,
they make
no.
me chuckle, and like I love the non-intentional humor that this book has. Like
No, I
that's
think
not supposed to be funny, but I
if-
find it really amusing.
if you can get me to the point where I'm engaging you on comic book guy level, and I'm going, well, previously you had said that the Human Torch had been disappeared, but he's clearly in a later panel
Yeah.
flying along with somebody, and
It's
pretty-
actually
It's
not.
legit.
It's only like 2 pages later.
yeah, it's like
'Cause I
and it's
remember
before the
flipping
reset.
back.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so they show the page that has all of the missing heroes, and it has all 4 of the Fantastic Four members
Yeah.
on it. And then 2 pages later, the Quinjet is flying along, and the Human
And
Torch
Human
is like
Torch
right
is
next to
alongside
it.
it.
Yeah,
And you're like,
yeah,
wait,
exactly.
what? No, there's like weird stuff in this book, but
And the Eric Master, I'm like, I know that you need to make this dramatic, but how does that work? They're the same person.
no, they're 2 different people.
They are.
One is Thor. God of Thunder. Also, can we talk about how cool the meeting of the Skyfathers was and how totally
That was the
pointless
fourth
that
moment.
is?
It's totally
How pointless that is. They
yes.
literally, they're like, let's get together and be awesome. Okay, let's sit around a table. Should we go
And-
attack them now? Yeah. Oh, we can't leave.
We're screwed.
Well, there's so many pointless things. There's a page with Moon Knight in this for no
I
reason.
know, I love it.
It's true.
I love
Well,
all
and it
of
was
that
most
stuff.
likely
There's a whole
setting
page
up,
with Nick Fury that's
It's most likely
unnecessarily-
setting up some of the
the side stories.
the side stories,
crossover.
which probably happened in the tie-ins that happened. But that's the thing is, I would rather have the base work be the thing that's setting up the tie-ins rather than the tie-ins telling you essential information about.
Well, this had that
the main
too
story.
because Silver Surfer 33 was the story right before this. It's why the Silver Surfer is injured,
Right.
and then Thanos' quest is why he has the Infinity Gems.
That's true.
So this actually is really similar to Infinite Crisis.
Well, but no, I don't think like 3 issues pretty much is what you could read and you can get by. I don't think the story loses much by not having those because they recap
that's
what
true.
the Silver Surfer is happening.
It's also not a. It's like it is an event, but it doesn't really affect the universe in any way.
Well, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't feel. The thing that I like about this is that to me, Infinite Crisis feels like an event for an event's sake. This doesn't feel that way.
No, totally.
Like this definitely had ramifications in the Marvel universe, but I never read it and feel like, well, this.
I feel like this is like Starlin had a cool idea and was like, "Hey, I want to tell this
Yeah,
story." And they were
exactly.
Like, okay, yeah, go do it. Where like
Well, and this
Infinite
is
Crisis
also-
feels like it has tons of editorial interference.
Yeah, well, this
Absolutely.
is also a story, whereas Infinite Crisis was an event.
You know, I wonder if this is actually the original Human Torch because
Well,
he's
that's what
hanging
I was
out with the
thinking,
West
too.
Coast Avengers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That
so
he
it
was
totally
like,
could be.
It's
Toro.
Flame Man.
Not Toro.
what's
Toro was.
Toro was the Human Torch's assistant or like his
The
sidekick.
sidekick.
whatever.
I can't
I don't
remember
know
what
what
his
his
name was
name
off the top of
was.
my head.
He's in the All New Invaders that I just read like a week ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Anyway, did want to talk about this because this was a big controversy at the time. Infinity Gauntlet fell behind schedule because Perez was taking a really long time to draw the book. And so they switched artists mid-series. And people often will cite this book as the reason why they would rather have the book be late than come out on time. Because now, going back and reading it, you can see the drop in skill level between Perez and Ron
I didn't
Lim,
think
right?
it was that big. I
Well,
didn't see it was
he's
that
still a
noticeable.
great artist.
Yeah.
Like I still really like his art, but it is just such a different feel.
It really is.
And I think the series would have been more cohesive, and I don't want to say better, but like feel a little bit tighter constructed if the artist had been the same artist through the whole thing.
You know, that could actually be why Terexia had a full-on suit
yeah, they
early
did
on,
switch
but
artists.
then was like purple all the way down to her cleavage later
Mm-hmm.
on.
But this is, I think, a good argument for why I don't care that a book's late. Like, I would rather have consistent art through the whole book and keep the original artist on and get, like, one cohesive artist-author story.
I agree, especially as detailed and as stylized as artists are these days.
Oh, yeah,
like
absolutely.
talking about Jerome Opeña
Yeah.
or Assad Ribic,
Mhm.
like you can't bring somebody in the middle of their story and have them be as good or have it feel consistent.
Right,
I, mean,
it's
I
gonna
really
feel very
like that.
different.
Even if it's a better artist.
Yeah, well,
it
the
just
whole
won't be the
God
same.
Bomb storyline in Thor that we talked about.
That's Ribic.
There's like an issue in the middle where it's the flashback to Gore's origin,
Yep.
and that's a different artist.
Yeah,
They just brought somebody else in so that Ribic could get caught up or whatever.
yeah.
But it's not as good.
Well, it feels like disjointed, but it also like takes you out of the experience a lot. I think reading that in the trade, like reading it week to week, it's more forgivable because you're like month to month. I mean, because a month has gone by
Right.
since you saw the art. But literally turning the page and then seeing a different artist is very jarring and can take you out of the
absolutely.
experience of reading comics. And so,
Well, this
It
was
really
one
is.
This was one of the big things in the early Sandman is they had to meet deadlines and stuff. They had to constantly switch out artists. So you'll go from somebody
Well,
like
the
Mike
weird thing about-
Dringenberg, who was really great, who had worked with Neil Gaiman to set up the book and stuff, and all of a sudden you have somebody else that's just kind of filling in, and it really
Well,
does.
Dringenberg didn't do the original pencils. a lot of the early stuff, the way he talks about it is that oftentimes you had, on that book, for the first few trades, you would have people come in, trace over what the other artists have done, and then add some more stuff, because they had done like half of some of the panels and just skipped out on some of the others. So you really had like 6 artists working on each of the books for the first Sandman ones.
Yeah, but I mean I mean that doesn't really I mean the art is inconsistent is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't necessarily think that changes my point anything.
I did want to say one thing about the art in this book. Adam Warlock's hair is so feathered.
Oh, it's perfect. It's
It
beautiful.
made me desperately wish that in the late 90s they had made an Adam Warlock movie starring Tom Cruise with a spray tan and bleached blonde hair. Because how amazing would that have been?
Not good.
No, it would have been awful. It would have been absolutely
would have
awful.
Probably
been-
as bad as
Who you
Incredible.
really wanted is
all of the made-for-TV movie Marvel movies, like
Oh,
the
God.
shitty Nick Fury movie, the
Generation X.
the fantastic 1971 Doctor Strange made-for-TV movie pilot.
I don't even remember that one.
The mom from Arrested Development is in it as a young woman.
Jessica Walter.
Yeah,
I actually saw pictures of Jessica Walter when she was younger, and she was a nice
she's attractive
looking
in that
woman.
movie.
She's-
But
Yeah,
that
you know
movie
what's
is
funny about attractive older
unwatchable.
ladies? They were often attractive younger ladies.
That's true.
Not
But
always,
I
though.
mean, the thing is that Jessica Walter is fucking as Lucille Bluth is a reprehensible person, and so it's hard for me to.
Yeah, she's in this. She's in the Doctor Strange made-for-TV pilot.
That's
It's on
hilarious.
YouTube. Go find it and try to make it through it because I can't.
You won't.
It's pretty
I'll
bad.
make it maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I
I'm
made
not
it through
even
the
gonna
first
joke. I'm
10
terrible
minutes
at those
segment.
things.
It's really bad.
One thing I'm trying to get Joe to do is watch the 1990s Fantastic Four
Oh,
movie
God.
with
Is
me.
that
It is-
is that even available?
You can
Well,
find
you
it.
can find it. It
Because
was
Like
never.
I've only heard that existed in rumor. Like
Well,
You
I
can
I
mean,
didn't know that
online.
any actual
the
like
comic
films
shop that
made it
I
out.
used to go to in Salt Lake City, Utah, they had it on VHS. I mean, it was never. It was a
Then it had
production
to have been a
copy.
bootleg because they never.
Well,
released
yes, it
Right,
was.
that's what I'm saying. Like I didn't know there were
They,
even bootlegs.
they never
of that.
released. It was canned.
Like I thought it was
because-
mythical.
No, it was finished.
No, it was finished, and then they put it
But-
on the shelf, and
have
they
you
never released
have
it.
you
Yeah.
watched the 90s Justice League TV show?
No.
It's like Friends Justice League. Find that. That's on YouTube also. Go watch that. That shit's amazing. It's
All right.
ridiculous. It's like it's half the JLI because like that's what was going on at DC at the time was
I
just
watched the Flash
international.
TV series when that was on.
Well, that was great though. That was actually done and like not just a shitty pilot that didn't get picked up.
What?
Like the Flash series was an actual
Was
series.
fucking not good.
Amazing.
The
Mark
effects
Hamill.
they look. No, it wasn't Mark Hamill.
Yeah, he's in it. He is the
He's the
toy
trickster.
Man. Trickster, that's what it is.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
he was. He totally was.
Yeah, it's great. I remember watching
I
it as a
didn't
kid.
watch it that
I
far
love his-
because the pilot was.
I love his
was,
weird muscle suit for no reason.
Dude, it's not just that; it's the effects they use to simulate his running, where he's
Oh.
just like
Yeah, all of it's
literally
bad.
a guy.
That
like,
is a
pumping
really
his
funny
arms.
motion that will not translate at all to a podcast.
It's this guy who was a soap star. I cannot even remember his name, and he's just pumping his arms really quickly while he clearly runs on like in front of a projected screen.
Yeah.
It was the most unrealistic running.
Well, I mean,
effects.
look at the old Hulk show, which was also terrible. Like
But
We're
it
living-
had the saddest closing music ever.
it did, but we're living in a. I mean, go on YouTube if you have never seen the Hulk show
It's
and watch
on
Hulk
the-
versus Thor,
Oh God,
the 2
don't.
episode.
Why would
That
you
was
say
Lou
that?
crossover.
Ferrigno, right?
Lou Ferrigno played the Hulk, yeah,
Yeah.
He
and
actually played the Hulk in the Avengers too. He did the voice of the Hulk.
yeah.
Well, one of the voices. They melded Mark Ruffalo's.
Well,
Yeah.
but the when he says "puny God" at the end, that's
That's all he says in the whole movie.
yeah, that's. But
Anyway, go watch all those shitty made-for-TV superhero and
Don't do it.
Marvel and
Don't-
DC
don't-
things,
don't do it.
and then you'll watch Smallville, and realize it's not as bad as I say it is.
Exactly.
You also realize why people consider it such a miracle when
Yeah.
the first Iron Man movie was actually popular.
Oh yeah.
And good. I
Yeah.
mean, and good. And don't.
So Spider-Man and X-Men came out, and people were like, "Oh, these are pretty good." And then Spider-Man 2 and X-Men 2 came out, and these are still good. And then Spider-Man 3 and X-Men 3 came out, and they were utter trash garbage, and everybody lost
Utter
their
garbage,
faith.
Trash garbage?
Yeah, they lost their faith in superhero movies,
I'm
and
sorry,
Iron Man
I-
saved superhero
I
movies.
thought I didn't like X2. I liked Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2 is great.
But
Alfred
I
Molina.
actually had a great moment. I went to see Spider-Man 3 with a big group with my
Did you
now
cry?
girlfriend, with her then boyfriend, and a
Did
bunch
you
of our
cry
friends
through
from
the
the
whole
comic
movie
shop,
like I did?
including the owner of our local comic shop, Gabby, and her husband Eric. And standing in the lobby, somebody said something about like being touched like that movie felt like being touched inappropriately or something, and I was like, no, that movie felt like prison rape. And Eric cracked up, and I was so proud of that moment because it was
like,
a beautiful moment
wept.
for me.
He's a
'Cause that-
stoic man.
He is a
Yeah.
stoic man, and that movie really having to watch that movie was. It was. I was just like.
I've never felt more betrayed.
I was in awe of how bad. I'm like, what is going on? My brain could not wrap itself around it.
I've never felt more betrayed because the summer before that movie came out, I bought the collector's edition of Casino Royale and watched it like 10 times that summer. And at the beginning of that DVD, there's a trailer for Spider-Man 3 that would play, and I would watch it and be like, this movie's gonna be sweet. At
Yes.
least 20 times that summer, and then watched it and just was like, I've never made a worse judgment call
I'm gonna
in my
feel
life.
so bad
And
for you
now-
if the Godzilla movie sucks.
Oh my god, it'll be worse than
It won't
that.
be the first time.
And then now when I go back and watch Casino Royale, that trailer still plays on that DVD, and I just get furious right before I start watching them. I'm just so angry.
No,
The like opening, him swinging through the city will start, and I'm like, "Fuck you, Spider-Man!"
So, did we have anything else that we wanted to say about the Infinity Gauntlet? I mean, we've been
It's-
kind of
we'll talk
effusive with our praise.
I
Is there
mean,
anything really bad to say about
I think
it?
there's lots of like really cheesy old school lines of
I mean,
dialogue.
there
It's very
is.
much the transitional era between old school comics and like modern comics. So part of it feels very modern.
There
in
is
the fact-
definitely that kind of weird period between like when all of the guys who founded Image came onto Marvel
yeah.
and when they left to found Image,
Right.
Yeah.
where they're working on all those characters, and it is that like very very late 80s, early like 89, 90, 91 period.
Yeah, it's super transitional.
It is.
This
And-
is because DC was able to make the distinction of we have pre-crisis and post-crisis, but even they took a couple years to get their footing into the modern era. I do feel like it took Marvel longer to transition into modern era of comics because they had a lot of financial issues at that time
and
too.
they did.
Well,
yeah,
their worst financial issues were later than that.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
they declared bankruptcy, and I want to say 98.
Yeah.
Like
So,
the
like, 6
90,
years after
91
this.
period was like the height
This
of the
is
comics
87.
boom.
Right.
No, this was
This was
91.
91.
The
92.
Infinity Gauntlet is 91?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's 91. So this was kind of like
The last issue
The
even
height.
has 92 on it.
this is
written
the
on it.
height of like the pre-crash boom
Yeah.
for Marvel.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it still feels very transitional into like the modern era of comics because we have the old style of coloring, which is very inconsistent in this book. There's lots of coloring errors, and they're the old school, like there are thought bubbles and captions.
Yeah.
And the captions are in first person, which is really odd for a comic book. Like it normally
Yeah,
internal
it's from
monologue.
Arrow's point of
and
view.
now-
It took me a whole issue to realize.
Well, not
that.
always. There's some that are like from Spider-Man's point of view, and he's like,
If it's the orange ones that go throughout 2 of the comics are from Arrow's.
yeah, when he's talking about his brother Thanos.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's
Like-
really interesting to me because I mean, this is still in the early end of the event book, and they really hadn't quite perfected
Well,
the way that they wanted to do that.
there were 2 really big event books that had happened before this, which were Crisis on Infinite Earths at DC and Secret Wars at Marvel, which
Well, those
ran
were both in
concurrent.
the mid-'80s, and
Yeah.
they've done a number since then. I mean, the X-Men had been kind of doing their own mini-events for a while with the Mutant Massacre and all that.
And DC had like Emerald Twilight or whatever. It was like right around this time, right? When
It was a little bit later, because that was right at... Emerald Twilight was
happened
after
Superman, Death of Superman.
Oh,
So
really?
it's
Okay.
95?
Later than I thought.
93.
93 is the
93
Death
is
of
Death of
Superman.
Right,
But
and
it
Emerald
happened-
Twilight was right after
But
that.
Death of Superman went on for at least a year. Emerald Twilight doesn't happen until after Superman comes back.
Then it would be
Emerald
94.
Twilight is the death
Yeah.
of.
It's not the death of. It's
Parallax.
basically.
Yeah, it's when Hal Jordan becomes Parallax.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. So that was
It's when
96.
Hal Jordan becomes Parallax.
Was
and
it that late?
Or
I-
90
I'm-
it was either 95 or 96.
I think
It
it's
got to be
it's
95.
before Grant Morrison's Justice League.
Which was 97.
Oh, it's way before because Kyle Rayner's been
It's like a year
Kyle,
or two before.
Kyle Rayner's been Green Lantern for a while.
Grant
at the
Morrison's
point,
Justice League was 97.
97. So it couldn't have been any later than 95.
No.
Anyway, you can look it up on Wikipedia,
Yeah.
which is slightly more accurate than our brains. And
It's
I
true.
feel like
We
this,
might all
that
be
Toby's
wrong.
right. It's like the early stages of Crisis, and this is one of the first ones that deals with stuff that isn't, in the Marvel universe anyway, that is more kind of a side story. Like Secret Wars was about all of the big name heroes, like going off into space and fighting on Beyonder stuff. And
Well,
what was
Secret Wars was about...
it? Isn't Beyonder in Secret
DC
Wars?
has a big event book happening, so we need to rush and beat them out the door so that we can sell toys.
Yeah.
That's what Secret Wars is about.
Oh yeah, it came with the toys, didn't it?
I don't
Didn't
know.
I think
well, and
issues
also
came with the
Spider-Man's
toys?
black suit, the symbiote suit.
Well, that came out of the end of it, but
Which is, there's a very good Twisted Toy Fair Theater mocking that, where a Marvel executive actually comes onto the panel and keeps handing Spider-Man new suits, and he says, "This is what readers want. No, now they're done with the black suit, they want this suit.
the Chrome suit.
Now they're done with that suit, they want your original suit back."
But this is an interesting story because it includes all of the mainstream Marvel characters, but this is a event that is more about the cosmic universe, and it's really a setup for Adam Warlock's new series.
It really is.
Like this is the beginning of Infinity, the Infinity Watch and the Infinity Crusade.
Well,
Like
there was the Infinity Gauntlet,
Gaunt, and
then there was Infinity War, then there was Infinity
War.
Crusade.
Okay,
And Infinity War is actually kind of shitty.
yeah.
And then there was the Infinity Watch, and then the Infinity Fob, and the Infinity Chain, and the Infinity Vest.
Nobody's laughing.
The Infinity.
I am. That's really all I care about.
I'm
my
laughing at
humor
Joe
is
laughing.
specifically tailored to me. I really don't fucking care if anybody else finds me as funny as I find me.
And
Because I'm
that's
simple.
hilarious.
Well,
Because
hey,
nobody does.
It's about making yourself laugh first, right?
Right? Exactly.
Anyway,
Well, that's how a lot of the best comedians do it.
you
They're
tell a
just like,
joke that
if-
you would laugh at.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Okay. I do think that this is a really interesting event, but I think we've probably exhausted.
Yeah, I kind of
Everything.
feel like I've said
I mean,
everything I need to say about it.
I don't think that this book is for everyone, which is why I hesitated to recommend it, but I like it a lot.
Well,
I
if you
can't
like-
exactly pinpoint why.
Well, like,
you
honestly, like, there's a part of me that would say, if you've never read superheroes, if you want to get into it, read this book.
Oh, I would
Like, you
never
don't
hand
need
this.
to know
No, I
who
wouldn't
everybody
either.
is. Like, just kind of jump into it, let it be what it is. Like, it's huge and bombastic and all this stuff is happening. And at the end of it, if you're like, man, that Captain America guy was pretty cool. What's a good Captain America story?
There's
Like,
no way I would
I
hand
would
this
recommend
to a
this
beginning
to
superhero
somebody
person.
who was interested, who maybe was more familiar with DC's Cosmic and wanted to
Or
familiarize
people who
themselves
want
more
to know
with Marvel's
about
Cosmic
Thanos
stuff.
from Avengers 2.
I think that it's like
I
if
think
someone
it's a
was
good
like,
setup for
"Hey,
Thanos.
what's a Thanos story?" I would hand them this. But in almost all of the circumstances, I
well,
don't know
if somebody was
why-
like, I want to know what Thanos is about, I would hand them Thanos Quest.
And then this.
Not Infinity Gauntlet.
I would
If
hand
they
them
read
both.
that and they're like, oh, I got to find out what's going to happen next.
yeah,
Then let them read Infinity Gauntlet. But keep in mind that you're the kind of guy who's like, what do I need to read 52? You have to read these 16 books to get into
Yeah.
it. Whereas I'm like, don't read anything. Just pick it up. Start reading it.
but I also feel like there is a lot to be gained from reading a story in which you have some context. And so if you've never read a Marvel book before this, all the characters that even I, as a Marvel fan, I'm like, who's that? What's this?
Well, the thing is,
What's going
I
on?
don't even think it really matters that much because
I think
what
this-
they're doing is kind of irrelevant to Adam Warlock's bigger plan. It's like, don't care too much about the backstories of the heroes. It's like, these are the heroes. Thanos is the bad guy. You just go with it.
But I think if that's all you're getting from the story, then the story is super thin.
No, well, certainly, but
yeah. I mean-
it's gonna be a point at which you can identify, like, what do I like about this? What am I interested in finding out more about?
I think it's just it's too much got a foot in the old school storytelling style that I would be really hesitant to give it to people who just saw Avengers or Iron Man
think-
and were like, I want to read Marvel comics.
This is a good.
Well,
I
yeah, I
was
mean, I wouldn't
not.
start out like the modern comic book reader with it necessarily.
Yeah.
But if somebody was like, I have a 10-year-old and he wants to read comics, I'd be like, try Infinity Gauntlet. Like, it's big and it's flashy and there's a lot of stuff going on and they don't
I
really
would
need to
not
know the
hand
details
this
too
to
much.
I think
A
this is a
10-year-old?
good book for
Yeah,
like.
why not?
There's no way I
I
would hand a
think-
10-year-old this book.
I think this book is good for. I think this is an era of comics that can be kind of hard to get into.
Yeah.
I think this is a great introductory book for that. I think it's a great book for people that like the whole cosmic idea. I think it's a great introduction to the Marvel cosmic universe.
I think
it's
if
a
you
great,
just read
like,
Annihilation
fledging it-
and
yeah.
you want to go
and
see
you
what
wanted
happened
some background
before,
on that, I think it'd
then
be a great
read it.
book. But as far as if you're like, I really want to get into superheroes and I don't know where to look, this is going to give you like. You would close this book and be like, well, I don't know anything I didn't know when I started, because it's not going to give you any information.
I think that it's got a lot of fun elements in it. I think it's got a lot
Yeah.
of cool character moments, and I think it's kind of a good primer in
I think it's fun.
superheroism.
It's fun for you and me because
Yeah.
we're like into weird, cosmic oddity. Like a guy with a fucking floating head with an eyeball on the side of it
Yeah.
with the quasars.
That's
butt.
Epoch.
Epoch.
Or
Like
Epoch,
what?
yeah,
Really?
Epoch.
Like you think that a 10-year-old's gonna read that and be like,
I would have loved
Yes,
this when
I think a
was
10-year-old
10.
is going to look at that and go, that's awesome. It's a planet with a face.
Well, I think a
I-
10-year-old 20 years ago would look at that and think that was awesome. I don't know about
Well,
now.
that was, I mean,
man.
I was,
Be that
I
as
was
it
literally
may.
10 years old when this came out, and I liked this
Exactly.
comic at the time.
yeah.
Be that as it may, I don't necessarily think an argument about who we would recommend it to is important.
Well, that's
or
kind of what the
interesting.
show's about, Joe.
No, I think the show's about me yelling at Toby. That's clearly what the show is
I
about.
thought that this show was about you being wrong and everybody listening to it going, wow, that guy is so ridiculously wrong.
Everybody's listening, though, knows that you're wrong. I've already told you that nothing you could possibly say, there does not exist a word or a statement or a phrase that you could utter that would make you right, ever, unless it was something that I had already deemed was correct.
That's not how this show works.
See,
Anyways.
I think that's hilarious because A, I would say the exact same thing about you, and B, we just had an argument where in order to prove your point, you had to bring in a completely non-related thing that we both liked at one time and then later decided was shitty to ascribe to me an enjoyment of so you could look down on me and go, well, you like this thing that's terrible, so your opinion has no validity.
Toby, I looked down on you before that. I didn't need that.
What I'm
to
saying
look
is that you're a shitty debater.
What I'm saying is that everybody hates you. That's not true.
Yes,
that
well,
was
I'm
mean.
a
I feel
master
bad.
debater.
Yeah.
I think that if we were the Beatles, I am George Harrison.
I think if you're the Beatles, you're fucking Ringo, and you need
No,
to be
you
okay
can't-
with that.
You can't be Ringo because he is a beautiful artist. Go look at RingoStarArt.com.
Let me tell you something. You have not lived until you've gone and experienced, because one does not simply view the works of Ringo Starr. One experiences them. You need to go to
live
Ringo
them.
Starr. What is it?
RingoStarArt.com.
RingoStarArt.com. I
I'm
don't
pretty sure
know
that's what it
why
is.
we are pimping this. But
It's
seriously.
ridiculous. Go look at
Seriously.
it. It makes my eyes feel sad and happy at the same time.
Let's move on to recommendations
it.
before this show just goes completely off the fucking rails.
Okay, so I got a recommendation that
do it.
is kind of bonkers because I felt kind of bonkers after reading this book.
Wait. Is it Bizonkers?
Well,
It's
what was
just
the
like
name of that
something
show
you would
with-
not recommend to somebody normally.
Sorry, what was the name of that show with like the cat
Bonkers.
Was it called
was
Bonkers?
Bonkers, yeah.
Okay,
It was
that's
Bonkers.
what I was thinking. All right, go ahead, Cade.
So this is not a comic I would normally recommend to people, but after reading the Infinity Gauntlet and the silliness of shit, I was just like, I'll do it. What the hell? So my pitch this week is for Green Hornet Parallel Lives, which I didn't know this at the time I bought it, but I see right here on the cover it actually says the official prequel to the Green Hornet movie.
My God.
And I was like, huh.
I get.
So basically this is
Isn't the Green Hornet TV show from the early days the prequel to the Green Hornet movie?
This is Kato's origin story.
All right.
Before he starts working for
The man.
what's his face's dad, he has some adventures. So this is like Kato growing up, becoming a mechanic.
This is a
That kind of
Dynamite
shit.
comic, right?
Yes.
This is a Dynamite comic,
And they were
it's-
putting out about 4 Green Hornet books.
Yeah, it seemed
Yeah,
like
this
Dynamite
was-
went through this period where they were just putting in, like, they picked up like all these licenses cheap, and they were just throwing out these comics, and a lot of them were not very good.
This is from 2010. The Green Hornet Year One was had just come out, and Kevin Smith's Green Hornet was ongoing at this time.
Yeah. And there was a Kato series where it was the female Kato.
There was a female Kato.
Yeah, she's the one who takes over after the original Kato.
Her original
It's-
name was Kata.
No, it's his daughter, I think. In the lore of the original Green Hornet story, of which I don't know much of
I
besides
didn't
what I
realize
saw on
that
the
there
television show.
was one besides the TV show.
No, it was a radio show. It was like the Shadow
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the Lone Ranger, and he's related to the Lone Ranger.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
those universes are connected.
Wait, is this a Wold Newton thing?
I don't know.
Because fuck Wold Newton.
I
Fuck
don't-
it up its stupid ass. I think that is the hugest pile of steaming fucking bullshit.
I don't even know what that is.
It's basically this guy, I can't remember his name. He's like some C-list science fiction author who basically decided that he was going to create this like overarching like meta universe that ties together like 1,000 different pulp characters.
No. The Green Hornet, his last name is his like great grandfather was the Lone Ranger. Like they have the same name. Like they are
Look
owned.
up Wold Newton universe
Yeah.
sometime. It's kind of like the Tommy Westfall universe, only stupider.
Mm.
Just Google it sometime, look it up on Wikipedia, and prepare for your eyes to bleed because it is the nerdiest thing that has ever existed.
Yeah, in canon they're like related because they were written by the same guy.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that they were created by the same person. Green Hornet and the Lone Ranger.
All right.
That's
I
fine.
may be wrong, but Cade, what do you want to tell us about this story besides its Kato's origin? Is there anything else we need to know?
It's crazy. It's bonkers. Like, you've got, like, these race car scenes with a Shelby GT500 against one of the newer Cadillac CTS-Vs, and then the Hornet car chasing them. I guess he's just, like, trying to impress his high school, like, some girl that he likes at his high school by building a fast car.
Is there some
It's just-
significance to that car matchup that I'm just not?
No, Cage just into cars,
Cade likes cars.
specifically Mustangs, which I don't understand.
Yeah, me
but
either.
I forgive him for.
I love Mustangs. Yeah, anyways,
No
so
three-wheel
yeah,
Morgan.
it's a crazy book, not one I would normally recommend, but after the craziness of Infinite Gauntlet, I was like, why the fuck not?
All
Fair
right.
enough. Why the fuck not, indeed?
Yeah. That's a good enough reason for me to read most books, to be fair. I pick up a lot of shit off the shelf that's just like, man, why not?
Yeah.
I'll try this out.
Chard, what did you bring?
I'm bringing a redemption pick. Do you want me to go next? Or you
Yeah,
want me
go.
to
Well,
Okay.
you're the next around the
Sure.
table, so why not?
I'm bringing a book that Joe recommended on the show. After which he recommended it, I went out and read all 8 issues of it, or 9 issues of it, and was totally fucking blown away by this series. I talked about it on the video show a little bit, but I want to pitch it because I think you guys will really enjoy it. It's a sci-fi story. It's like pre-apocalyptic. It is East of West by Jonathan Hickman.
Didn't he just pitch this like a week ago?
No, it was like
No,
it was
the
the same week we did Manhattan Project, so
Yeah.
like 2 weeks ago.
No, that was last week.
No, we
No,
did
was it?
Manhattan Projects last week. It was the week
No.
before
Or
no,
that.
okay, yeah.
We
It
did
was
Ultimate
2 weeks.
Savages.
It was actually-
It was
3
2
weeks
weeks
It
ago.
was 3 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Well, it was 3 episodes ago because we just released the long run.
No, it was actually episode 49 was when he pitched it.
Yeah.
So it's like 6 episodes ago, basically.
All right.
So it's been
all
enough
right,
time. And
all
I
right.
read it since then, which I hadn't
Fair
read
enough.
it
Yeah.
at the time.
It's solid.
And it's really, really good. I think you guys would really enjoy it.
I tried reading the first issue and I could not get into it.
Man, I think you would love it because I know you like
Maybe I didn't give it enough of a
you
chance.
like Game of Thrones a lot, and it has a lot of the political intrigue that I think Game of Thrones has, that I think that Game of Thrones does super well. This book has a very similar feel to it. After the Civil War ended, it's alternate history future. So after the Civil War ended, it ended in a very different way than the war ended originally. And so instead of one nation, the United States of America, there are 7 nations. And the 7 nations are vying for power in this like political struggle. And they've been doing this for a very long time. And one thing that they're using to get back at each other and try to gain power is this very like religious text that's super vague. And so they're each trying to like extract what the meanings of this religious text are to use it as their stepping stone over the other nations. And so it's a futuristic world, but it's based on that history. And something that is happening during this world is the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse keep showing up to end the world. And the last time that they showed up, some weird shit went down and they did not end the world. And so they then were reincarnated, but only Death was reincarnated. So he's out roaming around doing death shit and killing people and getting revenge for what happened last time that they were reincarnated. And then the other 3 horsemen wake up, but they're children. And they're like 9-year-old kids. And it's like just freaky watching 9-year-old kids like slaughter everybody in the name of the apocalypse. And
Joe, why didn't you pitch it this good?
Because I had not read as far as Chard did.
I'm just like really sold.
Because I want to read this book
the
now.
The art is like really, really interesting. It's super bizarre. Like Death goes and visits oracles, and like it's very mythological and religious, but also like good political intrigue. And it's sci-fi. And he rides like a robot horse dog that shoots lasers out of its face.
I think
and
you had me with robot horse dog.
there's like
lasers.
the country, the like Chinese country is at war, and they have like an army of samurai guys. It's just like there's just cool stuff going on in the series, and it's not in the way that like I love about Manhattan Projects, where it's like very absurd. Like this world feels a lot more grounded, and that's why I relate it more to like Game of Thrones, where it's like it's kind of a genre you've seen already. Game of Thrones is a fantasy genre, but it's not really about the fantasy elements. And this is a sci-fi story, but it's not really about the sci-fi elements. And Cade, you like the gunslinger.
Oh, yeah.
Death very much reminds me of the gunslinger, and this seems like a very gunslinger, Dark Towery type world.
This sounds like a book that could break the Hickman curse for me.
Yeah, I think you should try it, and I'm really enjoying it. I think the colors are great, and I'm a huge Hickman fan, so I think it's really good. East of West, go check it out. I think we should read all 9 issues that are out.
Cool beans.
Yeah.
Also, I forgot to reiterate what my book was called because I said it once, but this is the Green Hornet Parallel Lives. I forgot to say that. I was going to say that again at the end because when it was coming out, there were like, as you guys said,
4 or 5
4 other Green Hornet books coming out at the same time. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
I'm done. Joe.
So,
That was a good
Joe,
pitch.
what do you got?
So, I was kind of at a loss of what to bring today, but in keeping with my, I'm trying not to bring superhero books for a while. I brought the Frank book, which is a collection of short comic stories by Jim Woodring about this cat character named Frank who lives in this place that's called the Unifactor. And the Unifactor pretty much provides for him everything he needs, and all it requires of him is that he take it in, that he experience it. And there's a very small list of characters. I think my favorite thing about it is that it's wordless. And so in reading it, there's really nothing to distract from the art, which is incredibly like clean line work. Majority of it is in black and white, but when it's in color, the colors are vibrant, and
There's an element of it that's like a little bit Mickey Mouse in terms of style.
Yeah, there really
like
is.
he is a cartoon character.
Yeah, and it is very cartoony, and that kind of makes there are definitely moments when there's some things that happen that are kind of morbid, and it makes them it makes them a lot more morbid than they normally would be because of the cartoony aspect of the art. But
I've never read this book. I flipped through your copy a little bit when Jim Woodring did he did a guest appearance at our local comic shop, the Danger Room.
Yeah, right down the street from us.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's very surreal.
It is incredibly surreal.
Incredibly surreal. It's like reading an acid trip.
And it's really cool because Jim Woodring talks about how he kind of filters these stories that he gets from his dreams and his subconscious, and kind of I think he deliberately is obscure. He wants to obscure
Well, it's very
what's
similar
going
to like
on.
the Dali method, where it's like he's not writing comics; the comics are coming to him.
Yeah,
like
and
that idea.
It's kind of a similar thing, and he's really like it was really a joy to listen to him speak because he was very aware of. I think some people are uncomfortable when being questioned, and some people are too comfortable when being questioned, and he really, I think, got to the heart of all the questions that were asked for him. But I really like this work, and it was a work that I kind of had to, because I had to work to understand it, and because I really enjoy things that allow me to, and it's this weird kind of striking a balance between like interpreting what the author wants, but in this, it's like it's left completely up to my interpretation. And so after I read
the payoff
something,
of the book is what you
what you
put into it is what you're going to get out of it.
absolutely. And
also there's a freakish man pig.
there is a freakish man pig who is treated very badly, and there's also two very canine-like characters, although they look nothing like canines, called Pushpaw and Pupshaw, and a few other characters too. But it's really amazing. To me, this book is worth it to flip through just for the art and the surreal nature of the art. But I think it's really neat, and I think it gives the reader an opportunity to kind of expand their own kind of mindset about what graphic art can be and what comics are, and what they can kind of hold within them. So I thought it'd be an interesting book to talk about. And also Kirby, who's occasionally on the podcast, suggested I bring it. So,
And this is printed by
Fantagraphics. Yeah, this
And
is the
it's
Frank book. It's the big one.
It's a thick. How much is that?
This one was, I think, $35.
No, that's a pretty good deal. For
But
how
it
big
is because it's
yeah.
printed on heavy stock. I mean,
Cool.
it's slightly glossy pages. It's a really high quality edition.
Yeah, Fantagraphics does really good editions. of
Yeah,
stuff, I think.
and there's 4 more. If you're interested in what I'm saying and you read this and you like it, there are 4 standalones. There's Fran, there's Congress of the Animals, there's like Weather Vane or something. There's one other that I cannot remember.
Other books in the same universe.
That are other books that take place around the same character, Frank. So, yeah, check it out.
All right,
Coolio.
Toby, what you got?
Well, I was also struggling to figure out what I was going to bring this week because I feel like I've been repeating myself a lot recently. So I wanted to pitch something that I had not pitched before, even though I think it might have been pitched on the show one time. And it's a book that we're all pretty intimately familiar with. It's Planetary by Warren Ellis and John Cassidy. And I feel like I've been kind of staying away from this one because I keep thinking to myself it's too long for us to reasonably talk about on one episode. It's only 25 issues,
Yeah, it's
which
not
I
too
think
long.
is a little bit heavy, but it's not too much. And it's a comic that I really, really want to talk about because it's incredibly interesting to me. If you haven't heard us talk about it before, you don't know anything about it, it's set in the Wildstorm universe before it became part of DC. And it's about this guy named Jon Snow, who's one of the Sentry...
Elijah Snow.
Elijah Snow.
You know nothing to buy a pension.
Elijah Snow, he's one of the Sentry babies, which is a conceit in the Wildstorm universe. He was born on January 1st, 1900. And he's got a superpower, which is thermal subtraction. But basically, in the first issue, he's recruited by this organization called the Planetary Organization, and they are crypto-archaeologists. They basically investigate weird shit, the hidden history of the 20th century. And he signs up with this group, and as he goes along with them, he realizes that a lot of things that he had thought weren't actually true, and he starts uncovering more and more secret history. And it's both a very interesting comic series, but it's also very referential of the evolution of, I guess, genre stories in
And
the
pop
20th
culture a
century.
little
bit. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it references Godzilla, Captain Marvel, the
Dracula,
Fantastic Four,
Sherlock
Dracula,
Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes. Like, if you took popular genre stories of the 20th century and turned them into a universe, this would be the excavation of that world.
And it also references Vertigo stuff that like very vague references to Virgo character.
It's
Vertigo
a really
characters.
interesting, really intense story. I think it's one of Warren Ellis's absolute best.
It's
comics.
in the Trinity.
It's up there with Transmetropolitan. Of his best works, and the best works I think of the 20. When did it first start? Did it start after 2000?
I believe so.
I'm pretty sure it did. Think that this started in like 2004, 2005.
Well, yeah, because there was how long was the wait for the last book?
Oh God, like 2 years.
And it was
And that
almost,
came out in 2010, I think, right? The last one.
yeah. So I want to say that it was definitely
1998.
Okay.
Oh, well.
I have the first volume with me, and that's issues 1 through 6.
Yeah, because I think it was more than 10. It was more than 10 years for the whole series.
Yeah,
It
I
took
think
a
I remember
long
that.
time, but
to
there was
get
a
out,
huge
yeah.
gap from the last issue because John Cassidy just had so much on his plate he could
Yeah.
not get
He
to
was
it.
doing Astonishing X-Men.
But it is a
while.
great, great series. The art is incredible. The writing is 100% on tap.
It's a really interesting story.
I hate how
And
you do this.
If you've been listening along with us for the last 50 something episodes, and you've kind of been part of our journey, kind of back and forth through the annals of superhero history, I think that this book is kind of an important synopsis and comparison of the evolution of superheroes. Because it's kind of taking all of these disparate elements and condensing them down into one thing.
yeah.
It's funny because I don't like this book as nearly as much as you guys do, but it is still a very important work in comicsdom.
I've never actually read it.
Oh, it's pretty good.
It's a surprisingly quick read.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite comics ever. I think it's something that we have to talk about at some point. Because it does so many good things.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that if you're somebody who is learning about superheroes, it's going to be a really informative work for you to read.
This is a hard fucking choice this week.
Well, it's an interesting it's an interesting discussion for people who have never read superheroes to read this. I think you get a lot more from it if you have read some superheroes.
Yeah,
but it's also interesting to go at it from like a purely indie reader who never reads superhero books to read this book too. There's a lot because I have, I've known some people, shop customers and stuff, that would come into the comic book store and they read nothing but indie stuff, but they loved this series.
Well, there's a lot of characters that are pastiches of other characters.
But-
like you meet Axel Brass really early, who is a God, what's his name? Old pulp character, Doc Savage. He's
Yeah.
a Doc Savage
Yeah.
pastiche. And in like the second or third story, there's a guy who shows up who is a direct reference to the DC Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And there's just lots and lots of characters that are versions of an already existing character. And if you don't recognize those references, you're not going to get quite as much out of
yeah.
it. But I think that there's still a lot of good stuff going on there, even if you don't get all the references.
This reminds me of like Alan Moore when he's really on.
Yeah, it examines the tropes of the genre in a very similar way that as Alan Moore is prone to doing. And I think it's a lot less preachy than a lot of Alan Moore's work, which tends to kind of be like, look at me, I'm being meta. And I understand.
Well,
that
I
I'm
think
gonna,
it's the
like-
same thing with Warren Ellis, and I think that this is Warren Ellis
Yeah.
at the top of his game.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, to me there's Transmit and then there's this. And for one person to have written both of those works is astounding to me.
I think that the two of those things taken in isolation are Warren Ellis. Basically, that gets Warren Ellis into the Hall of Fame of comic creators.
No, I agree.
I mean, even taking away Authority or Stormwatch,
Which I think Authority is also good, but I think Planetary should be on everybody's bookshelf. I think if you're a comic book fan and you haven't read this and you've been putting it off, regardless of whether we pick it or not, it is something you need to pick up and read. You will. I don't see it may not be your cup of tea, but I don't think it's possible to like hate this book. This book is so well written. And it's cool. Like Elijah Snow is one of my favorite characters in all of comics.
See, and I think that a large part of our friendship is predicated on the fact that as much as we argue, when it comes down to brass tacks, there are certain things that we agree on to the hilt.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think Planetary is an important one of those
Well,
things.
we agree. We argue about a lot of the
Nitty gritty.
yeah, but like when it comes down to the important things, we agree.
You guys call them important things.
Well, but
You're allowed to be just as wrong as Joe.
Or as Toby,
I
which is the bigger wrongness.
hate both of you so much.
So,
Voting.
Cade, what would you
Yes.
like to read?
Planetary.
All right. Joe?
I want to vote next.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to vote for the Frank book.
All right. Joe?
I am going to vote for Planetary.
I'm going to vote for the Frank book.
Do it. I would love to talk about the
Well,
Frank book.
it's a tie. The show's canceled.
No more. If I could vote for the Frank book, I would. Because
No,
I
let's read
really-
Planetary. Let's do it. I mean,
right.
it's a big read for a week, but
It is. And I will bring the
it's
Frank
surprisingly
book.
It's
fast.
4 volumes. There's an absolute edition.
2 absolutes.
2 absolute.
There are 2
Yeah.
absolutes,
Okay.
yes. Volume 1 and Volume 2. And they are beautiful
Actually,
editions.
But it
All
is a
these books,
remarkably
with
quick
the
read.
exception of Green Hornet, should be brought back. To be
I will
voted
bring the
on
Frank
again.
book back because I think it would lead to
Yeah,
an
I
excellent
might borrow that
conversation.
from you. It looks super
Yeah, that's.
good.
I haven't read it yet. I kind of flipped through it a little bit while we were at the Danger Room listening to Woodring talk about it. It's something that I want to look at in more depth and I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I
And
really, you were flipping through it while you were pitching it, and I was really liking all the art that I was
Yeah.
seeing. So I'll
And
definitely have to borrow that from
Unlike
you.
the Tale of Sand, which was the last wordless comic we talked about, which was is actually, even though it seems more linear, it's actually a lot more abstract than these because these are smaller stories. I think they're a lot more easy to digest, and I think it's a little bit easier to tease out a meaning there. So that's why I think it'll be interesting to talk about.
Yeah,
but
it
I'm
looks
stoked to
super
talk
fun.
about Planetary. I've wanted
Yeah.
to talk about Planetary since day one.
All right. So Planetary for next week.
Yep.
And thanks for listening, everybody.
We
catch
love you.
Catch you next time.
Have a good night.
Bye.
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 Bye.